right, well, welcome and good morning, and I'm going to turn it over to our fearless leader, Russ Simons.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I hope you're having a great day. Today's session on rewards and recognition is really one of the most important things I think is going on around us now, because it ties back to, as we come out on this back to work road to recovery and the reestablishment of our staff, the people that have been furloughed, people that have been laid off, and then our casual staff to repopulate those staffs. Being able to demonstrate that you have an enlightened organization and that you understand all of the elements that are going to be necessary. I will, a word of caution, I do think that there are going to be challenges with getting staff back. I think that there will be some staff that just aren't going to be comfortable coming back into a public live gathering environment. I think there'll be other people that moved on and took on other positions and responsibilities. So really important to make sure that when we do bring people back, that we consider sort of their relationship with us linearly in terms of not only the work that they do, but also how we recognize that work and reward them. And two fantastic people here with regard to this. And so with that, I'll be back for Q&A later. Richard, thanks.
All right, great. Thanks, Russ. So this morning, and I learned long time ago during a presentation seminar, you never need to say these people need no introduction, because otherwise, why would you introduce them? But they are certainly very well known. Let me start with TOYYA LASSERE. She's the Director of Guest Experience at SoFi Stadium and so much more. We're thrilled to have you on today, TOYYA. TOYYA's background, just for those that don't know, but I suspect most of you do, before she got into the venue management industry, which she's been in for a while now, she spent her first 10 years of her career with Walt Disney, with Fox and Warner Brothers, and got an incredible basis for service and focus on the guest experience. She's worked in our industry at Mercedes-Benz, at US Bank. She's been involved in Super Bowls and NBA All-Star games and WrestleMania and so much more. So, and she's really here not only because of that depth and breadth of experience, but also her passion and understanding about rewards and recognition. And then as a partner in crime today, super happy to have Patrick SCANLON join us. And I'm going to jump right in, Patrick, and say, so people are going, so what's up with the hair? And I'll tell you, Patrick is got as big a heart as anyone you'll ever meet. So he's used COVID to not only hone his skills and work with his fearless leader, Anthony Bonavita, and the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse team to get that all going again. But he grew his hair not so he could join a rock band, but instead because he's going to donate it to Locks of Love, which is something that goes to people that are struggling with cancer, and just a really terrific deal. As it relates to the reason we're here today, he is the Senior Director of Guest Experience at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. This is his, I think, 9th season there. By way of background, he's done some pretty cool things as well. He worked in the New York Yankee organization earlier in his career, was very involved in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and has moved to Cleveland and operating all that. In 2017, he received a Clio Award, a really outstanding marketing award, and is like TOYYA, is as good a person as you're ever going to meet, with a heart of gold. And so we've got two very knowledgeable and talented people joining us today. So let me get past the introductions and let's get to the first question. And it is, let's start with the fundamentals. And I had a boss who used to say this to me. He'd say, look, I'm already paying people to do a job. Why do I need to recognize them for it? TOYYA, let's start with you, and we'll just kind of do a little round robin here. Why do I need to recognize people in the first place? I'm already paying them, in some cases pretty good, to do a job.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, everybody. And thank you, Richard, for that great introduction. Everybody knows that people love to be recognized. There's data, there's research that supports that. It's not really sometimes all about the money. I've got a lot of retirees that aren't here for the money. They're here because they love people. They love doing the job. They love being a part of the fun and the excitement. And so it's not really about the money for them. And there's a lot of different other facets of our business that it's not to get rich. So with that said, it's really important because, you know, letting people know how much you appreciate them going out of their way to be here and being a part of the extraordinary experience is important. I mean, and Patrick always says, you know, consistency, right? So I don't know if you have something to add to that.
Yeah, Patrick?
Yeah, thanks, guys. And Richard, the Venmo should be hitting your account as well. It's wonderful. No, guys, at the end of the day, think about it, and attaboy goes a long way. A lot of times you do your task and you just do it day in and day out. But when people recognize that you do it with a passion and purpose and for a reason, and someone genuinely says, thank you for that, it makes you feel like you're part of something bigger, that you're not out there on an island, that you're doing it for the right reason because you want to do the right thing. And again, it just makes you feel like you're part of that team. And more importantly, that people are observing that you are doing it.
Yeah, and I just underscore what both of you said. At the end of the day, what I hear you saying, and what I think everybody connected to this webinar today should hear, is the reason it's important is everybody wants to matter. I could get paid anywhere, but when you single me out and say, Richard, I really appreciate the effort you made right there. You really made a difference with that guest, and you say it sincerely and quickly, man, I'm like, and that's the way human nature is. So it really enhances culture. And I know that's a lot of what's going on in the two venues that our presenters represent today. So let's assume we're going to go forward with this and we're going to build a rewards and recognition program. Who needs buy-in? And I'm going to ask you in some cases how we create it, but let's start with who do we need to create buy-in with in our venue in order to make it work? Patrick, we'll start with you on this one.
I will tell you that is probably one of those echoing questions that everyone has when they look at this type of approach. And I'll tell you the answer is everyone. I mean everyone. I'm talking from your CEO to your frontline staff to your middle management to the guy who's cleaning the building at the third shift housekeeping. Because at the end of the day, everyone has to understand that we're all here for that same purpose. It doesn't matter the uniform or the title that you have. We're all consistently across the board. Not only to the people that come to our venues, but more importantly, to the team that works in that venue, the cogs of the wheel that make it go round.
Yeah. TOYYA?
Yeah, I definitely agree. It really is about the passion. Everybody at the top, it has to trickle down. It's leading by example. Everybody needs to buy in, and it's not easy. This, reward and recognition, everybody thinks of it as a lot of fun, and it's hard work because you really do have to, in some cases, if you're not as lucky as I am with Russ and Cameron and that sort of thing, who have many years of experience, you have to work at it, and you really have to put it forward as something that is vital to the success of your business, right? So I agree with both Richard and Patrick that everybody has to be a part of it. And however you do it, it has to happen. It has to start at the top and it has to come from the bottom and go to the top. So all around.
So we know that we're doing this because everybody wants to make a difference. Everybody wants to matter. I'm not just trying to be successful. I want to be significant. So whether I'm, as Patrick said, that, a third shift cleaning staff member or the CEO, I want to matter. I want people to know that I'm someone that's making a difference with my life. So we've established that. And I think it's really clear everybody understands coming into this. Yeah, to make it work, we really need buy-in from everyone, and particularly from the top down. So the real question we're all waiting for the answer on is, okay, great. I work in an organization where I get it, and maybe even my boss gets it. But as I start to move up, there's only so much money, and I need money for marketing. I need money for operations. I need money for talent. And so there's only so much piece of pie to go around. And then here's the CEO, and this person is trying to figure out how to delve that up. How do you convince them that what you're doing in terms of the service experience and the fact that it's important to catch people doing things right and create a rewards and recognition program, how do you make that happen? How do you convince those senior leaders and other people that this is really important? What are the things you're doing, TOYYA?
Yeah. So, in our business, we know that we have data, right? So it's not rocket science, but it is data science, it's people science. And I really do know that you can set a KPI, for example, your show rate. Your show rate can directly be correlated to how well you treat your team members. It's right there in black and white. That's one way. But the other way is that, you can look at, for example, we have something called the Voice of the Fan, which is an NFL initiative to make sure that we're doing what we need to be doing and meeting the expectations of the league. But we also have something called the Voice of the Team Member, which is the VOTM. And we make sure that when we ask our team members, we go out and we want to know, how can we do better? What do we do better? Well, it's in black and white again, right? So that if you're not finding, oh, you're not recognizing me enough, but they're saying something like, oh, can you make the shuttle service 2 feet closer to the building, then you know that it's not about you not giving the attention and the rewards and the recognition and the appreciation to your team members. You use the data, you use the science to show this is what it is. And then you can, here's another trick, Richard, you can show number 24, 25, 26 on the voice of the fan. They're not doing so well. What are they not doing so well in? Is it because they aren't treating their team members well? So you can show both sides of the pendulum,
Sure,
right? And show
sure.
that it really works when we do this, and it doesn't really work when you don't do this.
So using it's as they often say in the accounting department, it's the numbers, dummy. So use the data and use the very data that the organization is developing, and most of us have that. And there's certainly baseline data available. Literally anybody on this webinar right now could Google right now data on customer service or guest experience, and all sorts of stuff comes up more than you can read. And wait till we're done, because we'll have some big tips before you do that Googling. Patrick, how about you? How are you trying to convince the people, or you and Anthony together? How do you convince your senior leadership? And I know you both come from cultures of service, but how do you get that buy-in?
Well, I think TOYYA hit it right on the head, right? It's not only the voice of the fan, but it's the voice of the team. And I think in our line of work, what we realize is that the front line equals the bottom line. Beyond the data, the feeling, the heart, the soul of that company is your 15, I'm sorry, guys, I'm going to use our example. And TOYYA's probably got a way larger scale than we do, but it's the 1,500 frontline team members. You know, it's a part-time job and a full-time commitment that outnumber our full-time. We have 500 full-time. So there's 2,000 people that make us come to life every single night. And the way to get that buy-in is to include them across the board. I'm sure a lot of you guys have great parties and get-togethers and rewards and recognitions for service on your full-time. A lot of times the front line might be an afterthought. The way that we were able to get that buy-in to keep it top of mind with our entire organization is to weave it all together. If I'm going to celebrate somebody from accounting hitting their 10-year mark, at that same time, it's going to be a ticket taker or a security officer, or a housekeeping team member. That shows the buy-in that we're all there achieving the same goals and looking for the same service marks to consistently, night in, night out, deliver on those expectations of those thousands of people that you're inviting into your respective venues.
So under the heading of none of us are as smart as all of us, and like we're all one team or one crew, and creating that culture, which is so important. And I would add to that, something I've had some success with in my career is when we're able to create ownership up the chain of command. So in roles where I was reporting to VPs or CEOs, especially earlier in my career, what I learned, just mostly, I guess, through trial and error, was when I was able to capture true stories and help them become part of our culture and message and messaging. So a certain specific thing happened, and our CEO could use that when she or he is speaking to the Rotary Club, or they start telling people, we're really proud of our service here. The moment you get your senior leaders doing that. And is it hard? Yeah, in some organizations, it's going to be harder than others. So what do? You don't quit. You just keep doing it, and you keep doing it. So I think that the points that TOYYA and Patrick are making are brilliant. It's the data, use it both in your own organization and from other organizations. And also the anecdotal. People love stories. And so when somebody sees somebody in your organization doing something great and you celebrate it, and the CEO's the one handing them the plaque, it's over. You're beginning to reel them in. So great. Thank you both for that. So, in terms of how you reward people or how you select people or those sort of things, what have you found to be the most effective way to reward and celebrate your frontline staff? So we're talking about in terms of all the techniques and sort of methods you could reward people. What are some of the things that you do from beginning to end? TOYYA?
Yeah. Interestingly enough, Richard, right? So at the beginning of the season, we created this before the beginning of the season, we created this amazing reward and recognition program, and it had all different facets, pens and game balls and all different things that you could imagine. And we had a pretty big sizable budget for that. And once it became apparent that we wouldn't be able to really fulfill our desires with that program, we came up with some creative techniques. Instant spot technique rewards, for example, extraordinary service card. Real quick, this is a quick one. I had a young emerging manager who told me, everybody got a card. Every leader that was a part of it got a card, and they could give it to somebody that they recognize on the spot doing something extraordinary. this one young emerging manager said, hey, I was walking with her from a gate. I haven't been able to find anybody to give this card to. I haven't witnessed anything extraordinary. And I said, well, really? Okay. I said, well, tell you what, it takes time, keep observing, make some connections. As a matter of fact, why don't you go to the elevator, spend some time with some of the elevator operators, very mundane because there's no guests in the building. Go and spend some time. So later on in the evening, she said to me, she was excited. She came and said, I gave my card away. I was able to reward somebody. So tell me what happened. Well, Miss Mary, an elevator entry, whatever, told me, I was just making a connection with her. And she told me that on her break, for her 20 minutes, she would connect to Zoom to her church program, right? To her church service. And she would pray for us. And not only us, but, humanity, that we get through this pandemic and we're safe. Now, all of us on this call may not believe in church or religion or anything, but we believe in humanity because we're all humans. And she said, I gave her the card because she took her time out to make sure that we are doing something, that we're being safe. That means that you can find people doing something extraordinary quietly. It doesn't have to be given, jazz hands and fist bumps or anything. That was extraordinary. And I was really proud of that young manager to be able to find that. So I just wanted to share that with everybody, because sometimes it's not overt. It could be something that's very quiet that is a way to lead by example and show those young managers and everybody else that it's important.
Great. Patrick, how about you? What are some of the vehicles you use to, this is, really the focus of the question is, how are you rewarding and celebrating your staff? What are the methods you're doing that?
Well, I think, RA, one of the things that I learned from my company itself and Dan Gilbert, Quicken Loans and Rocket Mortgage, is that you can't be a one-trick pony, right? If there's one thing that you do differently than your competitors, well, they can rinse and repeat, copy that, and take your market share. So we look at diversity in the way we approach things. We need multi pathways to reward and recognize. Just like TOYYA talked about, we have on-the-spot recognition with what we call our DIF card, part of our NBA Elevate program, that I can say, great job, TOYYA, appreciate what you did, let me reward and recognize you. Now, once we give her that on-the-spot recognition, she becomes part of our month-long recognition, where her name gets submitted into a hat that can be drawn for tickets to an event, cash prizes, things of that sort. And the key is, that's not just our frontline team, that includes our sales team, our full-time account, anybody else in our company that exhibits our desired behaviors are part of that. And so they become part of that monthly program. That is through our intranet. Those are things that we communicate in game through static imagery in our IPTV. So people could say, here's TOYYA, who was our star last month because she did this, this, and this. And then of course that all folds back into our annual team member recognition, what we call our spectaculars, which shows tenure with time with the company and so on, but also takes an opportunity to highlight these great service moments where people went above and beyond their task and really delivered on their purpose. So again, you got to hit it from every angle and be consistent that you do so, because if you just do a drive-by, it doesn't come across as genuine.
So you're both doing on the spot, event-based, monthly, annual, a series of these. And if I could just build on this for a quick second, in my experiences when I went to Petco Park, and when I went to Petco Park, I thought I knew a lot about guest experience. And then I met this gentleman by the name of Ken Blanchard, who owns a company called Ken Blanchard and Associates. And while it's a bit dated now, it is as relevant today as it's ever been. If you've never read The 1 Minute Manager or Leadership in the 1 Minute Manager, it will take you 2 hours. And it's based on 3 premises, and it builds exactly on what TOYYA and Patrick are sharing with us, which is give people specific goals, spend the majority of your time catching them doing things right and telling them how you feel about it. And when they miss, which we all do, have them focused on what they did wrong and not the way you're treating them. Because as TOYYA points out, it's all about humanity. And so this what Ken Blanchard believes and what I totally believe, and by the way, after all the years I had at Petco Park, and I learned exponentially more than I ever knew before then, I still realized like I only know a little bit about this. So that was another humbling experience. But the thing is that Ken believes just fervently is by catching people on the spot and telling them how you feel about it, it's a game changer. It's not about a paycheck. Like TOYYA, I really appreciate, like Patrick just said, I really appreciate the great job you just did. Did you see that guest's eyes? She was so excited. Keep up the great work. We really appreciate it. How long did that take me? You know, like 20 seconds. And what if 30 people in your team, your leadership team, like TOYYA was talking about, she does, and I know Patrick does as well. What if they were all doing those sort of things? And even if they weren't giving out anything and giving out the cards and the star of the event or whatever is brilliant. But even if you're just catching people, when somebody does that, you know, I can't wait. I can't wait to go do something good next. So brilliant. Thank you for that feedback. I want to ask you, because this is one we all struggle with. So intrinsic rewards are something we all try to get our hands around. What have you found have been universally accepted? In other words, you know, like some of us have NBA basketball, some of us have NVL, some of us NFL, some of us are performing arts venues, some of us are convention centers. We all have different kinds of swag or no swag. But what have you found are intrinsic, you know, gifts with value that can be provided as recognition rewards when you're given those, that people all say, I like that, that's cool.
I'll go. So I think the game ball for us in NFL, and even jerseys and that sort of thing, things that people can really keep for a long time. And although those are a little bit more pricey, we also find that simple, smaller rewards, if it's more meaningful, like a pin. Everybody probably on this call has a pin program at their building. There's a way that you can turn that pin program though into something really meaningful, where if somebody gets, say, on their lanyard, they end up with 10 pins, you can cash those 10 pins in for one really meaningful pin that says, wow, check that person out. That person, it means that they've done something so extraordinary that they were able to cash it in. So I think the pin program is very valuable as long as you pull it through and sort of not necessarily recycle, but repurpose to make it even more interesting and valuable. Those are some of the things that I found that works. But again, Richard, the main thing is that people want to be not necessarily rewarded, but recognized. So if you put their name in a weekly bulletin, or, you know, a weekly digest or a daily digest, hey, you know, Patrick did something extraordinary, this is what he did, and then Patrick opens up the daily digest, wow, I got recognized. So that kind of thing goes a long way too. Patrick, I know you always talk about consistency, and I think that's probably one of the things they're going to say is to consistently do it, right?
Yeah, Patrick?
Well, you know, in addition to that too, you know, beyond the tangible things, people want to be a part of something, right? So we think about, as we've transitioned out, and now that, you know, tickets are a great thing, money is a great thing, we also know food is a very big motivator. So as we've transitioned into this cashless and touchless world, one of the things we're working with our intelligence team is to figure out how to provide our team with food vouchers. So when they come to the building, they don't have to worry about, what am I going to eat tonight, this, that, and another. We reward them with that. For you guys that have venues that have multiple events a day, and you know your team's there for extended periods of time, think about providing snacks for them when they come in. You know, with this COVID transition, you know, we knew that we shut down our water fountains, that concession stands were limited. So what did? We went out and procured a couple hundred cases of water. Every night when our team comes in, they come check in their items, get their trail mix, they get their water. It's not a whole attaboy, this, that, and another. But what they know is that we genuinely care about them. And that's just another layer and another wrinkle to show them. Additionally, as we worked with our local partners, we were very fortunate that when we shut down, we were partners with a large grocer. The first thing we did when that grocer said they needed help, we went to our frontline team that was on a hiatus and said, you have priority candidacy with this partner. Now you fast forward to the pandemic. We're in Cleveland. We're very fortunate to have the Cleveland Clinic in our backyard and a partner. And as soon as the vaccine and inoculation schedule afforded it, we were able to reach out to our frontline team and said, you're part of our family. Here's some opportunities for you to go out and get inoculated. And again, it's not so much, hey, I caught you doing this one thing the right time at this moment in time. It's, you're part of something bigger, part of our family and organization. We recognize you're with us, and you're going to be with us the whole time. That's the little things that we can do.
And so through that, whether it's small or big, whether it's giving out a pencil with the team logo, or, you know, whatever it may be, those little things matter. I want to just share a quick sidebar. So, because it is all about when I know you care, and Bonavita says this, and I'll say he stole it because he did. He stole it from somebody else, but it's still a great line. And it's like people don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. And that's an easy thing to say, but hold it for a second, because it has the benefit of being true. I'm working for the Padres, and as most of you know, in 2008, there were massive fires in Southern California. They were horrific, not that unusual, but every decade or so. And 700,000 acres of San Diego County burnt to the ground. And in fact, the fire marshal told national news when it was at its peak with 80-mile-an-hour winds that he thought the only thing that was going to stop it was the ocean, and ultimately they got it out. But in that process, 2,000 plus homes were burnt, dozens of people lost their lives, many people lost everything. And I was in the office on a Monday holiday, and so was a young lady by the name of Sue Bodis and somebody else. We were all just some other people, 4 or 5 of us, just doing some things. And Sandy Alderson, our CEO, and maybe the greatest leader I've ever worked with, came in. He just came down. He was just, "Hey, what's going on?" I said, "Yeah, how about these fires?" He goes, "Yeah, is everybody okay?" Now, I don't know what your reaction is when somebody says that, but my reaction is immediately thinking about my team or our collective operations team. And I said, "Yeah, I think so." And, I've been talking with Katie Pothier, our head of HR and legal, and I think, everybody's good. He said, "No, I mean the event staff." I don't know if I'm the only one that's an idiot, but when he said the event staff, it had never crossed my mind. These were people that showed up for 80 baseball games a year. And I looked at Sandy and he said, "Well, how many are there?" I said, "Well, there's 400 directly in our employment and, a few hundred more." He said, "Well, if you include the ticket office downstairs, there's about 20 of us here all together. Why don't we split that list up right now? And let's all just go down the list and start calling and seeing if they're okay. If they need anything, let's leave a message." Let me tell you something. It was the single greatest experience of my life in terms of caring about somebody and seeing the reaction. To this day, 2021, if I went to Petco Park, and there's still a lot of people there, and Cameron Durham will tell you this, Toy, because she works with Cameron. All these years later, 13 years later, there are still people that wouldn't have even known who I was before that look at me and us as the greatest experience of their life in terms of places they work, because can't believe you bothered to call during the fire. So the point really is that when you show people you really care, and I'm embarrassed to tell you, I never thought about it. And then when Sandy told me, I've never stopped thinking about it. Now I'm constantly thinking, like, what could we do that shows that? So I think it underscores the great direction that Patrick and TOYYA are giving us here. And I want to spin the question to, so we have people that deserve rewards. In fact, everybody deserves rewards, right? So what systems are you using? And where I'm really headed with this, and I'll sort of even read you the question is, so determining who can reward and recognize team members for the performance is a question that always comes up. What are the things you use to determine whether somebody deserves a reward or not? Patrick, let's start with you on this one.
Just like everything, there's a lot of ingredients in the mix, right? Of course, we look for guest feedback, but we even open it up to peer-to-peer. Because if Patrick and TOYYA are working together and I watch that TOYYA doing a wheelchair escort said, "You know what, I'm not going to just take you to the entrance. I'm actually, because of the weather or circumstances, I'm going to take you that extra mile, literally sometimes, and I'm going to wheel you to the other parking lot across the way." Those are the types of things we want, that peer-to-peer. But we also use another variety of sources too. Our contact us when someone takes the time, and it's usually 9 not great for the 1 good, but when you get that good, you want to make sure that you utilize that to venerate that staff. We also tap into real-time things with Twitter. Sometimes someone will tweet out, "Hey, I just had this great experience at the Fieldhouse with so-and-so," and you're able to instantaneously reward and recognize that team member, as well as our leadership group that walks around. We really believe in walking the walk. And so as part of a Leader on Duty program, I'm out there not looking for things that are wrong, but looking for things that are right. And that gives us the opportunity. And the last piece that we've implemented to really hit that layer on every level of our building, all 6 floors, we have quality assurance ambassadors that are making sure that we're clean and safe, but they're also looking for those moments to reward and recognize. And we charge that team every night to say, "We need you to hit X amount of diff cards," as we call them, to show us those folks that you're rewarding for doing the right thing. So again, a lot of different ways that we do it, but it's got to be multifaceted.
Yeah, that's terrific. And TOYYA, how about you? What in addition to the areas Patrick's talking about, do you look to?
Yeah, much of the same. I think that most of us have similar programs and ways in which we can make sure that everything is going the way that it should. But one additional thing is, he talked about a QA team that he has, or a red team for guest experience, mystery shop. So, the 100% club, if on the spot you get a information that an usher at 313 is doing something good, that comes onto your device, and you can go over immediately in the spot and reward. So that's a really good mechanism by which you can really do some immediate rewards. But the thing is do better, be better, do better, right? Do good, is that consistency. So you don't want to drag it out. You want to make sure that if you have a program and you reward somebody for something that they're doing today, make sure that it comes out by the next game. Don't wait too long, because then the significance of it, or the meaningfulness of it, is kind of expires. So that's really important. So we make sure that we're consistent, we're deliberate, intentional, genuine, and making sure that you get that in a timely fashion. Rewarding your team members is very important. Don't wait until like next season. Oh, I do have a great game ball for you from 6 games ago. It just doesn't mean the same.
That's really
Richard,
important.
All right, if I can just tag on real quick.
Oh yeah, please.
What TOYYA's saying is this, and I really want to emphasize this with everybody on this call. A wise man once told me that people's behaviors change when they know you're watching. But we have to make sure they know that we're watching for the right reasons. We don't want people just to come to attention because they see you coming around and they don't want to be doing the wrong thing. We want people to know that we're looking for them to be doing the right thing. And again, same approach, just a different perspective. And that makes sure that the team knows that you really care about delivering as opposed to what they're not doing.
Yeah, those are great insights, the timeliness and the paying attention, and the attitude of the people that are responsible, which we all are, for driving the guest experience. Because it's not just the two of you lead a department that's emblematic of an entire organization. So it's not just, we have a guest services department. We are a guest experience. One of my idols, and I really mean this, and he'll hate it, but one of my idols and great friends is Russ. And it's one of the reasons that we've partnered on this training focus. And one of the things that Russ is great at, and I'd like to think I'm decent at, and people like Anthony Bonavita and Cameron Durham are brilliant at, is they walk around, and as I like to say, they shake hands and kiss babies. And I've walked venues with all of them. I've watched Anthony at Rocket Mortgage, and he's like a rock star. And the thing is, people don't fear him coming. They welcome. They're happy to see him. And it's easier when it's us in charge of guest services, because they know that's our role. But when they see a Russ Simons walking up, hey, how you doing? How are the kids? That you learn some things about them. That's the culture maker. That's the difference. When you're genuine, it's not some gimmick. So terrific. So let's talk a little bit about people that are not regularly doing Q&A. I'm sorry, are not regularly doing well. How do you manage them up? What are some things that the two of you do? And I mentioned Q&A. If you have some questions, there is a Q&A option for you at the webinar, and we have a number coming in, and we will stay on when we finish the content here in the next 15 minutes or so, and answer every question. That's really a fun part of the session. So please hang with us and get those questions in now. But go ahead with, how are we managing people up?
Yeah, I want, if I can start, Richard. So first of all, I just want to say, when you talk about, you are admiring different leaders, I got to say something. For you to say that, it means a lot, because just the small amount of time that I've been able to spend with you, and the stories and the learning that I've gained and garnered, has been amazing. So yes, you, Russ, Cameron, all these really accomplished, and I get so much from it. Russ, for example, you can't get past his door without seeing something blaring at you, which says, staff matters, right? It matters.
Yeah.
Staff, more than anything else, staff matters. And this is something that I was so happy about when I came to this organization, because it said, yeah, you can reward and recognize people that are doing good, but you can also help people that aren't doing so well. And the way you do that is by leading by example, positive reinforcement. For example, say Patrick is doing something so exceptionally well, but his friend next to him, Monty, isn't doing so well. But I say to Patrick, wow, Patrick, attaboy, here's this. And then Monty sees this. Monty is innately going to want to say, hey, what about me? I'll do better. I can do better. So I think positive reinforcement for those that are doing really well and mirroring that behavior and making sure that the people that aren't doing so well, it's a kind of saying when I was with Disney, it'll make you itch. If you don't belong here, you're going to itch because of the environment that we're in and what we're creating. And if you itch so much, then you might have to just step out and go to the doctor and not be in this environment. So try to work with everybody that's not doing well with positive reinforcement and mirroring positive examples, but also flatline it when it's time, because you don't want somebody in your organization that is not going to be in it to win it with you, creating those exceptional, extraordinary experiences. Because you're right, Richard, it's all about the guest experience at every touch point.
Right. How about you, Patrick? How are you managing?
Yeah, I mean, in the same way that we use that data and information to try to find who our superstars are, we look at the other side. To TOYYA's point, we think public recognition, or at the next time, keeping it timely. At the end of the night with a post-event after action, let's bring everybody in and say, great job here or there, or even the next day at roll call to be able to say, hey, we're rewarding and recognizing your fellow team members because of these service delivery points, et cetera. And again, people want to be part of something. But to TOYYA's point as well, we look at those that might not be delivering for whatever reason, and we make sure that we have them in the right role. They might be the right fit for us, but maybe not necessarily in that particular task. And if we find something different that they can deliver on that purpose, it gives them the opportunity to grow with the company. And I keep saying the same word because it really matters. And it shows that we genuinely care about you as an individual. You're not a number. You are part of this organization that makes us come to life every night. And it shows that person that you truly care. But at the end of the day, too, do everything you can. And if that person is not the right fit for you, then it's the next step to have another conversation with.
That's a great insight. I want to piggyback on both of your comments. One of the things that I found career-wise is that most of the people that are event supervisors are incredibly talented people. And almost in all cases, most of them got into those roles because they were really good frontline employees, and they were ushers or ticket takers or whatever they may have been. And then somebody above them left, and so they got promoted into a supervisor role. And what Russ and I believe, and we've actually created programs to address. In fact, Patrick, we've done one in your venue, but this is not the point of my question, or my point really is that one of the things that I think all of us need to pay attention to is that we're often putting people in frontline supervisory roles. I'm not talking about full-time employees. I'm talking about the people that are in our events that are doing the very things that Patrick and TOYYA just talked about, catching people, managing them up. That's the person they have the most contact with. So that supervisor is a critical cog in the service wheel. And when they're able to genuinely have that caring conversation and, hey, Tom, how are you doing? How are things going? And people will tell you when you ask them, but you have to ask them. So the point of all of this is that it's really important that you, as venue leaders or guest services directors or whatever role you may be in, that you're making sure your supervisors are not only good at guest experience, but they're good at leading. And there's some simple ways to do that. You can do it in-house, you can do it yourself, and they appreciate the fact that you're trying to help them grow. But I will tell you, 90% of the buildings I connect to do not have that as a forefront or even a thought, but as a forefront of thought. So encourage you to really pay attention to the supervisory sort of training programs you have to make sure they're effectively doing what you want them to. Segue question. So now I have somebody that's not performing, and we're guest services people. We're the icing on the cake, man. We're like, we care. So what do you do? And Patrick, and this time we'll start with you. What do you do when you have an employee that's not performing and you've spent time trying to help them? What do you do?
Well, I think that kind of goes back to the last thought, is that you have to make sure that you have the right body, not just the warm body. And you got to sometimes find out what motivates an individual. A lot of times we try to approach things with a broad brush stroke. In our line of work, just like every guest is an individual, every team member is an individual. You got to find out what makes that person tick. Similar to how you talked about Russ doing check-in. I get, thank goodness I do what I do, because without those 15,000 to 20,000 steps a night that I do and about 30 flights of stairs, I don't think I'd fit on the screen right now. But at the end of the day, that's because I go out and I pound the pavement and I check in with my team. And you get to know those individuals. And again, it goes back to find out that maybe maybe this isn't the right fit for Patrick, but I could see him flourishing in this type of environment. And that's the opportunity that we give him.
Great. TOYYA?
Yep. And I agree. I agree 100%. There are some things, for example, we perform something called a skills assessment, right? So we have this matrix and we really count on our supervisors and our pick six, our area managers or level quarterbacks to ensure that they're carrying through with that skills assessment. So if you have somebody in your zone, if you have some frontline team members that are in your zone and you are able, we empower the supervisors with this matrix that says, these are the things that you should be able to do in this role. And if they're not able to do those things in those roles, but they assess them and they're able to do, like Patrick said, moving them to some other role, then we can manage it that way. It's really important, the skills assessment. It's something I picked up when a global program is that everybody, like you said, and we have people of all different abilities, and it's real. We're really proud about placing people with who are differently abled, right? So making sure that like treating everybody as an individual and using that skills assessment. I'm happy to share it with whomever, but it's a matrix of different things that you're looking for that specific role. It goes to the position description sheet. Are they able to do these certain things? And maybe they aren't. Maybe they aren't able to, be verbalized, but they're able to smile. So you just find the right spot. And then you really do exhaust. You exhaust all of those options. And once you've exhausted it, and at the end of the line, if it says that it just doesn't, it's okay. It's okay. Because when it counts, they're going to find something somewhere else, or they may even be able to go somewhere else within your organization, not necessarily in guest experience, and find a good fit. So skills assessment and making sure that you are deliberately utilizing that skills assessment and skills matrix to find those right fits.
TOYYA, real quick, I don't want to derail things, but I will tell you this other thing that COVID has given us is not only being well-versed in the Zoom and Teams world, but I think about our vetting process, which used to be very sterile by looking at a resume and you're looking at skills, but you didn't get a personality, really.
Right.
And so now with us being able to do Zoom interviews to vet out, even before we get to that interview process, it gave us a chance to make sure that this person's not only skills align with us, but their personality, their dynamics align with us as well. And it's helped us find a better quality of team member. Again, not a warm body, but the right body.
Yeah, soft skills, right? Right, exactly. 100%. All of that is a part of it. And when we talk about skills, it's not really a sterile skill, but 100% soft and hard skills together to ensure that in our business, which is that je ne sais quoi, right? That magic that they'll fit in.
And that may, by the way, then I want to come back and just tap on to the answers you gave, but that may, the virtual world may in fact stay with us in terms of interviews forever, because it is a very efficient way. They don't have to drive anywhere. They're not standing around. They're not frustrated. And so definitely something, more people can interview more people and so on. And you have that interconnection. But I want to share this with everyone. And it's about when you have someone that is not the right fit. It happens all the time. Probably happens to a lot of people that are on this call. And let me tell you something. They know they're not the right fit. You know they're not the right fit. So does everyone else working around them. Now, I'm not talking about mean-spiritedness or, I'm just going to make a change because I'm the bully in town. I'm talking about people that you genuinely have tried to manage up and they just don't fit. And yet time and time again, because we don't want to hurt anybody or whatever, we don't make that move. And it happens in every organization. I see it all over the place. You're not doing anybody a favor. And I'm suggesting all you need to do, and a good friend of mine way back in my Marlin days, Jonathan Mariner, gave me this great line, and I give him credit for it. They already know they're not doing very well if you've really made the effort. So all you have to do is simply say, hey, Pat, how do you think things are going? Pat will tell you, not so well, what do you want to do about it? They're either going to say, I want to make more effort, or I don't know. If they're not a fit, you need to make sure you help them find the place they belong and do it in a positive way. Not necessarily, well, we're just going to get rid of you, but more, why don't I try to help you find something that's a better fit for you? Is it a lot of work? Yes, but it builds culture. And that's what Patrick and TOYYA are teaching us through this whole call. So I have one last quick question, and then we're going to jump to questions. We have a bunch coming in. And that is really, and maybe just look for some kind of short answers here, but So you have a parking vendor, maybe you have a concessionaire that's not wearing your exact flag. They're a third-party partner. You may have a cleaning company or an engineering company. You have your own hired staff that might be event services. They are all different formulas, whether you're a convention center, performing arts, stadium, arena, or outdoor event. Everybody has a little bit different formula, but all of us have third-party contracted workers. And yet we're trying to create this culture where people go, when you go to XYZ, the experience is great. How do you create one team? TOYYA.
Yeah, that's that secret sauce, right, Richard? Making sure that all of those, Disney does it so superbly well, is that you never know what the third parties are. One thing is that you really create a service committee, a service committee that can be represented by all of the different vendors that you may have in your organization, to make sure that we're all pointing in the same direction, that North Star, that we're all reaching, and we're all, being governed by our purpose, promise, our commitment, your mission statement, whatever it is, your reason for being. Everybody in the organization has to be pointing and working toward that same common goal. And, doing that is so important, that building that foundation to ensure that everybody knows what everybody has to do, and we all end up in the same direction. So create a service committee and have representatives from every single partner be committed to showing up, to contributing, participating, and making sure that the culture is developed as strongly as possible.
Brilliant. Patrick?
In addition to that, to TOYYA's point, as you get those ambassadors from your partners and other parts of your business, you make them part of that solution, but you also make sure that they're part of the whole process from the start. So when we do our rookie training camps and on our onboarding, it does our police department friends, our vendors, they all go through the same training to understand who we are as a culture. And they're also rewarded and recognized in the exact same way. So when I go out and I'm looking for those great diff moments, I'm looking at Airmark concessionaires. I'm looking at the paramedics. I'm looking at our Cleveland police, because they are part of the whole experience as well. And when you reward and recognize them, and they know that's the goal, they only buy into it more.
So building on this brilliant service committee, the sort of focus that the two of you are sharing, an idea that's really worked well in places that I've been in the past has been, we've created a monthly lunch for their leaders. So I'm talking about the fire marshal, the police person that is on our site, the head of the on-site general manager for food and beverage. And by the way, you tell them, thank you for providing the free lunch. This is going to be a big event for us. And so they're committed for the year. And when we did this, it started out, there was a lot of finger pointing between security and this group and that group, and people didn't, but as people built relationships, as weeks turned to months, and we got a year or so into this, they all started becoming friends, and our culture just exploded in a positive way. People were actually running around trying to help each other be successful, instead of saying, oh, well, the reason this didn't work was, company XYZ doesn't know what they're doing. So,
love that.
Yeah, just a tip. We're gonna jump to some questions here momentarily, but let's see if I can. There we go. I do want to tell you, next week we have an amazing final of our 6 sessions, and this is really a great way to analyze staffing. And Patrick, we'll make sure we tell Anthony that you're a key member of the staff as we talk about this one. He knows that. But next Wednesday, please join us. We have Kim Baker, who's the president and CEO of the Kentucky Performing Arts Center, and Maberka Butt, who is a genius around people and corporate strategy, and Anthony Bonavita, who we've mentioned several times today, who has a long-standing history within the Venue Management Association as a teacher and leader, and a great venue manager that's led all sorts of events. And the 3 of them will be joining us next Wednesday, same time, same station, for a detailed discussion about how to use this time we're going through right now and starting to ramp back up, or actually be back in the intro phrases of getting our buildings open. So please join us. We've got a bunch of questions coming in, and I'm gonna facilitate this. Russ had something that came up and apologizes, but it was unavoidable. And TOYYA, you can tell the world, like, that's the way SoFi is these days.
Yes, it is.
I'll kind of throw this forward. Hi, Cindy Vargo, a great friend and another genius in the industry. Thanks for joining us from the fabulous Fox in St. Louis. She said they do random snacks of kindness, which is really kind of cool. We allow their associates to take turns taking baskets around and passing out snacks that allows associates to step into areas they may not normally have the opportunity to interact. So what a brilliant idea that,
That's fantastic.
walking around walk around the venue and doing that. So thank you for that, Cindy. Sam Dorr is another great friend and associate up in Boise at I believe it's called it's called Mile. I know we changed the name from Taco Bell. It's Mile. It's named after a gas station. It's a fabulous arena at Boise State. How do you balance the importance of recognition without overdoing it? Sam's question really is, you want it to be genuine. How do you make sure that you don't overdo it? TOYYA?
Yeah, that's a great question, Sam. And the balance is that you really have to be intentional and genuine. And if you are genuine, then as much as it may seem ingenuine, it wouldn't be. Think about what I said about Disney, how, people might call it cheesy, but it's that secret sauce that Richard talks about, is that you can't overdo it if you're really being genuine. You want your team members to understand how much you care about them. So it's the genuine part. I don't think it can be overdone. What do you think, Patrick?
No, me, I'm all about genuine. That's exactly what it's not going to come across disingenuous if you do it with consistency and sincerity.
And I'm goofy. Just be out, take the chance. It's okay. Like if some people say, "Oh, that's so cheesy." Well, it's the cheese that creates the je ne sais quoi. So don't worry about being cheesy, Sam.
And it's Extra Mile Arena. Sam, sorry, but I got it. Great, and a great run venue as well. Ellen Taylor, thanks for your question. She says that they're looking to develop a PIN program. And what's a place to start? Patrick, tell us a little bit about.
Actually, I'm going to defer to TOYYA on this one because I know.
All right.
Okay.
The PIN program is key.
Yeah, PIN program. So we had a really great program in my last building. We're planning for a great PIN program here. You can set up 4 different stages. You could have your platinum, your gold, your bronze, and then team member, your peer. So you give peers a pin that they can deliver to each other. You give your leadership, your frontline leadership, like your supervisor, event day leadership, a pin that they can deliver to their teams and that sort of thing. And then you give your executive leadership or your full-time staff a pin that they can deliver during an event. I'm happy to share with you some information about how we actually developed it and how we put the science behind, if you will, the different scenarios of who would be eligible for a certain pin. Happy to do that.
And then, TOYYA, I do believe too, back around the turn of the millennium, it's kind of where Disney started their PIN program, where they had an exchange. And what was unique about that is that guests could exchange pins with cast members. And so it became a big thing where, people were coming in bartering to get different pins because it was so unique that you couldn't buy it anywhere. You could only get it by trading a cast member, which again, just another wrinkle that people can add on for exclusivity.
That's a brilliant point. And for example, you can see my pin. I wear a pin. I lead by example. I'm wearing a pin, and this is our inaugural pin, and everybody got one. And so, you do it, and it's a great program. I love that, Patrick. I forgot about that. Thanks for reminding me. I'm right now.
We gave Russ this pin. This is.
I thought it was a red one.
Yeah, no red. Line items. No red. So terrific. So. Brendan Lowell said, how often should we recognize our outstanding guest service? So Brendan's in a small performing arts theater. So they don't have a gigantic number of people, but every one of them is equally important. And I think that's important for all of us to know, whether you're running, whether you're piloting the biggest ship in the ocean or a dinghy, they're all equally important because you're making a difference in your community, and every person that comes in that building is looking for a lifelong memory that you're getting a chance to be a part of. So Brendan's saying, for a small theater, should I be doing a monthly award or should it be more quarterly? What do you think, TOYYA?
So a difference between recognition and appreciation, right? So if you want to look at something that you could do, like Richard, and I wrote it down, by the way, Mr. Illumination, I wrote down that he said, they had a monthly supervisor's lunch. That's such a good idea for appreciation, to show people that you appreciate them. For recognition, which is more based on, really recognizing somebody that's living your goals. Everybody should be appreciated because they're showing up to work. They're doing what you ask them to do. Those that deserve to be recognized, you should look at that as something that's more ongoing. It continues. It never stops, because it could be something that happens just tomorrow when you turn around and you see somebody doing something that is extraordinary outside of what the scope of what their normal job would be, then you are recognizing them. So appreciation program is a little bit different from recognition program. And I like Richard's idea about the monthly, still in that, by the way, Richard, the monthly lunches for the supervisors.
Patrick?
All right, Toy, you hit it right on the head. And just at 30,000 feet, Brennan, all of it. You ask how often, you should really be looking for those moments every day. If you can work that into a pre-shift meeting or a post-shift meeting, great. Also have that recognition or appreciation on a monthly and a quarterly basis. And again, if you can somehow tie that into your overall organization, even at the full-time level, that is going to help show the continuity and buy-in that this is not just a frontline initiative for your staff. This is us as an organization as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, prior to doors for the next event, if this is it's a fairly efficient and rapid way to do it. Remember earlier, TOYYA talked about importance of timeliness in these. So you can create a very simple guest services card. You know, if you saw outstanding service, you know, and it's in your program, and just please drop it in the little ballot box going out, or you'll see it on social media. There's lots of ways you will hear from people just in comments, or you can just have a call with somebody. They'll say, I had such a great experience and so. And at your team meeting before you have doors of the next event, you can literally say, hey, and call outs from our last event. I just want to congratulate Patrick. We got this email talking about the experience that he created. What a difference maker. Keep up the great work. How long did that take me? The other 20 people in the room are all going, I want that next meeting. And so that's human nature. We all want to do good.
The one thing I didn't get a chance to put out there, we keep talking about individual recognition too, but in the same regard, if you had some tweets that went out or something on Yelp or whatever, you could come back and say, hey, as an organization team, great job last show, because look what the reviews were. Maybe it's not necessarily to one person, but you as a whole. And again, that shows the camaraderie amongst the team. It is a team effort. It's the we that makes that difference.
Love that.
Brilliant. And it is the
Love
we.
it.
Thanks for that, Patrick. And whether it's a group or the whole organization, it's great to do that. So Brennan, hope that helps. Cindy Vargo again with a great question here, and one I have sure lived with, especially in CEO roles. It is, how do you manage this manager that does not see the benefit in recognizing associates, especially their direct associates? So let's say you have a peer group, or it's even like some people above you in the guest services area, and you want everybody catching everybody doing things right, but there's somebody that's just going like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. How do you handle that? How do you manage that? Because it impacts culture.
Yeah, if I may, I actually got a really sneaky way that I did it. The people that you want to make sure that you overmanage your principals. Now, none of us want to be micromanaged, but you overmanage by continually through oral, written, and static communication, convey who you are and what you're trying to deliver. But I had situations the same way where I had a manager or a team lead or a full-time person that didn't get it. Guess who I rewarded and recognized? That team member. I killed them with kindness, because every time I saw them doing something right, and they might not have realized, I made sure that they were rewarded and recognized with the rest of the company for doing their purpose. And all of a sudden, that helped lift the veil of like, it was an aha moment. So you volley it back, and like I said, you reward them.
And I'd say from the top down, because I think this question also drives to you have an organization that's about guest experience, but there's always 2 or 3 people that may not have consumed that Kool-Aid yet. And how do you get them to do that? It's difficult. Remember the earlier question we had, top down, how do you get the whole organization immersed? So I'd say, don't give up, stay at it, stay at it, stay at it, be relentless. You will win people over with kindness and the sorts of things you're hearing from TOYYA and Patrick today. And also when you are able to, or you are the person that is more top down. When I was at one organization we created a weekly program in which all of the managers, as a part of our weekly managers update, had to report out how many on the spot, you did a great job. I think we called them our Gold Star program they gave out. And so it became peer pressure. After a while, you were to give out a minimum of 3, because we had a jillion events a year at this particular place. And so there's a variety of ways, but it's mostly just don't quit, stay at it.
Mm-hmm.
Toyya, we got a question, and maybe you can share this. If you can, you could send it to me, and we'll put it on our LinkedIn page. But can you share with us your skill assessment so we can talk about that offline later? But that's a great
Absolutely.
question. And we will get that up on our LinkedIn for you. Okay, hang on a second.
And I wanted to say, and be unapologetic, right, Richard? So, it's kind of like, take current times, somebody that doesn't want to wear their mask, and they just because they feel entitled, they don't feel like they have to do, be unapologetic about saying, nope, that's not right. And you're not working. So if somebody's saying that they're not drinking the Kool-Aid, they're in the wrong business, but be unapologetic about saying, you must be a part of what we are inculcating. And if you don't, I don't, to Patrick's point, he's like, well, let's do some reverse mind Jedi tricks. And I kind of say, don't be apologetic about you don't fit. Either you fit or you don't. And I don't mean to sound, harsh, but it's high stakes. And it's really important that culture doesn't get ruined because
so you care, but you make sure, as we talked about earlier, that if people don't fit, but you're proud of what you have. So, Cindy Vargo provided us a couple of additional comments here as well around what they do at the Fox. And I think this is something we would all agree to, that, and Patrick, you talked about this earlier as well. A lot of this all starts at if you hire the best, make the best effort to make the right fit hire.
Right.
And it's more challenging when you have larger organizations, but it's still not an excuse. You hire the right folks, and then it's your job to educate, create the culture, teach them to speak, as she said, their language. And then when they know that you're trying to help them grow, that really makes correcting them much easier. And yes, Sam, I got it right. Extra Mile Arena, thank you.
RA, Cindy hit it right on the head on a lot of the things that she table. And I will throw this out as well. One of the adjustments that we made where I can sit in my office, I can dream and scheme and go out and be the one who's interviewing, but I think about my frontline team leaders, those that are out there leading that group day in and day out. I make them part of the hiring process because they know what we're trying to achieve. They know they're going to be leading these teams, and they're going to want to have the right fit talent. And again, I can write a computer program, but if I don't use it day in and out where these guys do, then I'm no good to them. So again, just another way to get your team to buy in and feel part of the process to find the right talent to make your organization.
Great. Thanks for that. So a couple of more questions here. And if you have any that you haven't asked, please throw them out there. Mario Batts, great question. How do you reward the changeover staff? And particularly in venues where, you have multiple events, and that's really all of our venues, right? They could be back to back, but people that are doing the changeover, they critically matter to our success. How do we interact with them in a positive way? Because they're not necessarily connecting with other members of the management team. So how do we do that?
When you say changeover, is that the conversion team or is that the Sparkle team that cleans the building?
So people that are actually in your venue, and it may not necessarily apply to the two of you, but people that are in your venue that are making a changeover from, a concert to a sporting event or whatever it may be, but they critically matter to your success.
Yeah. So like a field crew or conversions team. Yeah. They're superly critically.
Mario said he's really looking at the conversion staff. So how do you, the question really is not that they're important or not. We know they're important. How do we reward them? And do either of you have any specifics? If not, I might have an answer to that one.
I'm gonna let you take it, Richard, because I think, yes, they're all a part of it. But I think one of the misses for us, and it's okay, is because we're a nascent culture, is that full-time staff, it's got to be that foundation so that all those people like the convert field crew team and those guys are a part of it and are immersed in it. So how about if you tell us your experience with full-time?
Yeah. So, and happy to have the two of you flavor this. So from a conversion perspective, because they are in essence invisible to the guest, and they are in essence invisible to most of the full-time staff. Typically they're there on off hours doing a critically important job. From my experience, it's immersion with the supervisor. So whoever the person is that's leading that team is equipped with the same tools and skills to catch people doing things right, to reward and to push that, and that they're literally an equal part of the overall program, just as we were talking about third-party contractors earlier. So, and it takes time. None of this is an overnight fix either, by the way. It takes time. So, yeah.
All right. I think one of the things that we do, again, comes down to appreciation, because you're right. They're behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
No one really sees what they do. We were very fortunate that we had a crew here called Charlie's Crew, where it was a dad and his family that changed over this building back when the Cavs started in 1970. And so one of the unique things that we did was we actually did a time-lapse video that we put on our website to show what our changeover crew is doing. We make them part of our training program every year when we do our back-to-season training. We make sure that we provide them tickets to the games for them and their family, so they know that they're part of the organization. And again, it's just trying to keep them top of mind when they're sort of behind the scenes. But
so what we're saying is everybody matters.
Yeah.
And we need to make our programs inclusive. And if you're in an organization where the conversion team may be overlooked, that's a question to drive yourself or to bring up with management, because all of us matter in a culture. So let me jump to Jay Roberts' question. Jay, thanks for joining us. Great to see your name. Love to see you. How do you balance rewarding staff that does something extraordinary versus those that are just doing their daily job, on time, on post, they do their job well? Do you reward people? The question really is, are you rewarding people for the basics? And like, do you even reward people for like perfect attendance and that sort of stuff?
Yeah.
Yes.
Again, the difference between appreciation and recognition, right? So, or rewards, is that, yes, everybody, like you said, Richard, everybody matters. So those that are coming and doing what we ask them to do, which is show up on time, go, and help, they are appreciated. We do end of season parties, pep rallies in the beginning of the season, movie on the field, those sorts of things that everybody that is a part of our organization can participate in, because we appreciate everybody that matters. Rewarding somebody for going above and beyond and doing extraordinary or, excellent things, there's the difference. You want to make sure that you're differentiating between appreciating and recognizing somebody for something that is just outstanding. So that's kind of my take on it.
And I agree. I think certain things like perfect attendance are vital, especially in our work, right? Like, we're living to budget lines and we're trying to staff appropriately, and you don't want to fudge over too much. If I need 110 ushers, I should probably schedule 115. But if I could get a team that shows up consistently, I could probably hit my budget line a little bit easier knowing that. So that's definitely, Jay, something that's important. And at 30,000 feet, here's how I look at it. There is nothing wrong with rewarding people for doing the right things and also doing so consistently. Yeah. And I look at ticket takers. You could go up to 2 ticket takers and I could say you could say, Patrick, what are you doing? I'm taking tickets. Okay. TOYYA, what are you doing? I'm here as a gatekeeper to welcome people into our house so they can have 3 or 4 hours of extraordinary experience and forget about the world. They're both doing the same thing, but it's TOYYA's approach that really shows what the difference is. Sorry, the ghost just walked into my house. It was weird. But Jay, that's how I look at it. Again, there's nothing wrong with showing people.
Great question. Great answers. Thank you. And just quickly adding to that, I made a note earlier, performance is one thing, but celebrating anything you can think of matters. So whether it's birthdays or longevity or work anniversaries, newsworthy events, anything you can do. I was within one organization when I was the CEO, and it was a larger organization. And because I didn't get a chance to know all the employees, we had a monthly birthday luncheon for all the staff, and there were typically 30 to 50 people that would show up, and we would, spend an hour and a half and chat. And that was once a year for them. It was once a month for me. It was a bit of a commitment, but it was terrific. I got to know people, and they felt like they mattered more, and so that's all about, and that was appreciation. Last question. And another friend, Catherine Carlson. Hi, Catherine. Thanks for joining us as well. Catherine has a great question, actually one we talked about earlier, but not on the air today. But how has your appreciation and recognition programs changed as it's been impacted by COVID? TOYYA, I know you started out with $1 million budget.
Yeah, huge budget. Hollywood Walk of Fame. We had all kinds of lofty ideas that we knew that would really be extraordinary for this building. But then after we realized we wouldn't have any fans, we didn't have any guests, we couldn't spend. So we were put on a very strong austerity watch. We went out and we did it in a grassroots sort of fashion, in that, we were calling people for swag that they may have had in their closet. We were using some of the things that we purchased for like a hiring fair, like for example, the little footballs or pins or microcloths, that sort of thing. And literally we went out to like Party City and bought little bags and put our branded labels on them. And so it changed greatly because, that's the thing. You didn't have any more money, but how do you make sure that you keep being persistent about what you want to do? That's what we had to do. We turned it into a grassroots program, and we still were able to be very successful with making sure our team members understood how important they were to us.
Patrick?
Along the same lines too, we just had to sort of look at how we could sort of alter our approach. I will say we sort of shifted gears. Of course, we want to recognize individuals, but we also really kind of shifted gears towards inclusion. And when we thought about welcoming people back to our house, we had little welcome home bags for them with PPE, latex gloves they could use, little sanitizers on a little clip they could put on their belt, branded face masks, things of that sort that help put their mind at ease, recognizing that your safety is paramount to us. And this is how we're going to start it. And it also set the tone that as we're managing, because we're now fortunate that we have 4,000 guests per night, that the expectations of our guests are led by our team. So if we made sure that our team had all the tools to navigate that, then they could convey that messaging to our guests. And again, it just sort of shifted. And the last thing too, is we did maintain some of our things with monetary gifts and so on. But again, we added snacks and water and food vouchers and things of that sort to show them that the world has changed and we're going to be flexible and change with it as well. And if this is what you need to succeed and the tools that they are, here's what we're going to provide.
Great, brilliant. Well, those are great insights. And Catherine, thanks for that question. TOYYA, Patrick, on behalf of all of us and a great group of people on today to listen and learn from you, thanks for your time and commitment. All of us are doing this just because we want to be a part in some small way of making a difference. And so thank you for doing this. And we really look forward to you joining us next week. This will be up, this recording, several people asked, all of our recordings, including this one, are online. There will be a link that goes out today, and that link will give you access to all of the webinars we did last year, all of the ones we've done this year, including today's, and today's will be up live later this afternoon. So until next Wednesday morning, thanks for joining us. TOYYA, Patrick, again, thank you very much, and we'll look forward to seeing everybody again really soon.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Russ. I'm honored. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.